Welcome to another installment of This Is Not Normal on the Political Drain podcast with Drill Sergeant Doug, aka Admin Doug, a U.S. Army veteran, teacher, musician, and family man from Jamaica, now fights for justice and democracy through commentary and humor. Follow him on YouTube at Political Drain and at Sons of Liberty Official as Drill Sergeant, aka Admin Doug, continues to protect our freedoms.
Can I quote the President of the United States? Groceries. That's a beautiful word. That's a word not many people know. Groceries.
You're right.
So actually,
like the president had mentioned just 2 or 3 days ago that we don't have the money, and he said the first thing, we don't have the money to pay for childcare, Medicaid, Medicare, things like that. We returned $400 to $450 billion back to the top 5%, 1% in corporations underneath the One Big Beautiful Bill Act that passed in 2025. That's how much revenue was returned. If we paid 1.1 million service providers in our childcare industry $17 an hour for a year, that would have only cost the nation $35 to $40 billion a year, 1/10 of what was returned back. So the idea that we don't have money is a lie. It's what we choose to invest into.
What they always say is, an uneducated populace is a controlled populace.
What's up, YouTube? And welcome to the very first On Your Left with Drill Sergeant Doug. And that's me, of course, Drill Sergeant Doug. And this is going to be a political roundtable, the kind that doesn't suck. Yeah, like we don't have liars on here. The kind that doesn't have people who just spout off talking points and say the things that one side or the other is going to be happy to hear. We have courage candidates. Our courage candidates today are Jordan Herrera from Missouri, Bree Woodson from Georgia, and our social media influencer for today is you are an influencer, man. You gotta
I hate that.
it.
I hate influencer. No,
Trevor,
man. Boots
Silva,
on the ground. Activist, business owner, influencer.
He's influencing everybody through his activism and businessmanship. So I'm going to let everybody introduce themselves. And today's topic, just so you know, is about wealth inequality. Today's topic is about wealth inequality. And I want to make sure that when we bring up a topic like this, we're also going to have somebody join us in a little bit who is a Native American activist and an expert on Native American governance, and they may have pushed back on the whole idea of capitalism itself. So this is the panel that doesn't suck. We don't have contrary views just for contrary's sake for people to talk. This is going to actually be a conversation that we need to have for the resistance. These people are also running, and so watch carefully, listen carefully to what they say, and think about what you hear today. I'm going to ask Bree Woodson to introduce herself before we get started.
Hello. My name is Bree Woodson. I'm a congressional candidate for Georgia's 12th. That's Augusta Statesboro and Dublin. I'm also a content creator and organizer. You may know me as the Controversial Blonde.
Outstanding. And you just got an endorsement, I believe it was, from the mental health.
Yes, so they don't do like formal endorsements, but what they do is promote you as a candidate that is willing to take mental health seriously, which, as you know, I do take that to heart, considering I am a mental health professional. So.
Outstanding. And then Jordan, tell everybody who you are, what you got going on.
Yes, sir. So I have been running for the last 14 months for United States Congress here in Missouri. I've been focused on Missouri's 4th district, and so I was redrawn into it by Donald Trump back in September. So I've been running in the 4th since September. Let's see here. I am a disabled veteran. I served our Air Force honorably for just under 16 years. I was a biomedical engineer. So a lot of folks don't know what that is. I built healthcare devices, everything from a thermometer to a defibrillator to an MRI or a CT. But eventually my skills graduated to being a clinical engineer, and I began building healthcare facilities. And then in 2020, I guided Whiteman Air Force Base along with Johnson and Pettis counties through COVID pandemic response. My healthcare facilities were every base that makes up the bomber strike bases in the Air Force Global Strike Command. But when PTSD took me out, I went to law school. I then started working at the Missouri Attorney General's office and became a constitutional lawyer in the civil litigation division. I am running for Congress to send Mark back to Fox News. He's peddling in propaganda, and I figure Fox should pay for that, not the taxpayer. I'm working on policies that are focused on housing, healthcare, education, and food security, and fixing those systems.
Outstanding. And Trevor Silva from my Cluck Hut. What's going on, man? Tell everybody about what it is you do.
Absolutely, man. So I'm a co-founder of my Cluck Hut. It's an artisan soap company. Hi, Bree. How you, babe? And so I basically started a whole business because I just got frustrated and lost hope, just watching people get divided and unfettered capitalism run over everyone. And I decided that what if, I don't care about money or power. It's not something I need a void to fill. So I decided, what if we could just start a business and we could build something without venture capital? We built something that prioritized people over profit and eco-friendliness, sustainability, diversity. And we kept that focus as we grew, that we actually built the change we wanted from the ground up. Living in an unfettered capitalist system, it's the people at the top, these billionaires, these narcissists, sociopaths that'll never fulfill themselves, but they keep trying to fill that void at our expense. So I figured, what if we built something where we don't take them on head on, but we build community and we can actually affect their bottom line and force change. So while we have awesome candidates that are going on the inside and doing it, I'm using what I can do on the outside to build something that can kind of just create the reality we want to live in the middle of the reality we don't.
Now, excuse me, I'm a little bit sick. I'm powering through. Here's the deal. YouTube, here's the deal, panel members. This is uniquely situated for a great discussion because of the fact that we have someone here who's making money, who is growing leaps and bounds. I believe that you told us last time when we had you on Closer to the Edge podcast that the business, even though it's not, you're not $1 billion conglomerate, but you are indeed growing more and more every day, and you're still finding ways to give back. And that kind of sustainable model might be something that we need to be talking about in a discussion on wealth inequality. For the candidates, actually for everyone, I'm just going to open up the floor here. We started the 80s with the head devil in charge, Ronald Reagan, and the trickle-down economics. The supply-side narrative, the argument that the wealthy are the primary job creators, is considered flawed, with many arguing that the middle class drives demand and economic growth. And only people who haven't failed, like the rest of the country for the past 50 years since this was introduced, don't know that. But somehow people are still being able to be tricked into this rhetoric of trickle-down economics, this failure to generate growth, which is what I think a model that looks like what my Cluck Hut is doing may be uniquely situated in fixing, right? The CEO pay disparity. This, I think, may be something that needs to be legislated because we can't depend on everyone to be nice like Trevor. I want to know your ideas on dealing with the rhetoric of this trickle-down bull, all right? How did it get so strong? Why do people still believe it? And how do we combat this rhetoric? Then we can talk about even the policy. But the rhetoric is where I want to start with this. I'll let you start, Jordan.
Sure. Yeah, actually, it's kind of interesting that you're bringing this up. So I was just at the University of Missouri here in Kansas City. The UMKC Democrats hosted me last Monday. And a young man in the audience who actually worked on the property management group in this building where I currently live. He's no longer here. He went back to school. But we were talking about, putting a cap on rent across the nation. In California, there's a state cap year over year of a lease of 5%. And in Oregon, it's 3%. Here in Missouri, we have a really difficult problem with our rent being too expensive. For example, rent has gone up 20% in the last 3 years. It's astronomical. And so we have to put barriers there. And so I was talking about this. And so this young man coming out of property management, he says, well, that just won't work. And I said, okay, well, go ahead, defend and explain. And he said, well, he worked in property management, and he had said they work grueling hours, they have long hours, a lot of need to sort of try and get all of these different things done. But he had said, like, the Maxis properties, which, not speaking for them, and this young person was not speaking for them either, had stated essentially they couldn't give us pay increases because there wasn't enough revenue. And it just didn't ever make sense. And so kind of walking it through the process with him, I had said, okay, so what you're saying is your property management group, your employer, wants to raise rents on all of the people that live there in an effort to, what, do you think that'll give you more benefits or give you a better pay structure? And he was under the assumption of yes. And I let him know, well, have you gotten a pay increase really over the last 3 years such that it makes up the difference? And of course, the answer is no. And there was the answer. It's all around you. Raising rent for Maxis properties doesn't mean that as a profit share, they're going to give more to their employees. They just make more profits, and it stays right there.
That's exactly what it means. I used to be a property manager. I went from leasing agent to APM. So I specifically took rent. I raised rents. I was in charge of making the forms that justified the rent increases, and they don't go back to me. I don't see them. It just goes back into quote unquote improving the property so we can justify raising rent again next year, right? It doesn't go anywhere, like you said. It goes absolutely nowhere except back into the people that are charging the most. So
I think this all comes down to one thing, and it's Citizens United. It's the fact that Citizens United set us up for a system where the wealthy can send their people, and they have the people and the money, and they get in and they can to get these politicians to do whatever they want. This is why it's so important to be backing people like Bream, like Jordan, progressive candidates that aren't bought and sold, that are going to go in there and work for the American people. Because until we do that, we are answering to the billionaires. The billionaires, they know the power that they have. And we are having to work more and more hours where we don't have time to go in and even talk to our own representatives because we're stuck in this grind of just trying to survive. And now with destroying Medicaid and the affordable health care plan. Now you have people that are tied to their jobs for health insurance. So it's even more frightening to leave a job that doesn't pay, but you're still not getting enough to get by. I hate the term cost of living. I just hate it so much because there should be no cost to live when you have people that are almost a trillionaire on this planet. You have billionaires that will never spend that money. That kind of hoarding is reserved for episodes of hoarding. When you go to a hoarder's house, nobody hoards anything. Like, money is the biggest hoarding. So for me, it comes down to Citizens United. It comes down to, we start this at the bottom with getting behind candidates. And, as a business owner, this is what my whole concept was. We can vote with our dollars. We showed it with Jimmy Kimmel. We showed what happened when everyone said, well, we're out. He got uncanceled real quick, didn't he? Because we are the majority and we create the rules. We just have to be united amongst ourselves behind the right people and the right businesses to force their hand, to force change.
I have an interesting, my brain is always working in weird ways. So you guys know I make content. A lot of my content is history-based content. Typically it's Black history content, but I'm very interested in Romanov history too. And I don't think people realize, because we don't physically see it, most people can somehow finagle a way to get the latest technology, the latest phones, latest whatever, right? But because we don't physically see the wealth inequalities like we used to, I don't think people are realizing our wealth gap is smaller than the one that caused the Romanov breakdown. It's literally smaller. And let me see. So as of 25-26, roughly 800 billionaires hold more wealth than the bottom 50% of American households, with the top 1% owning nearly 32% of all U.S. assets. So we are quite literally in a situation worse than the Russian Gilded Age. But because we are a society built on capitalism, comfortability, and conforming, people don't realize how big the wealth gap actually is. Because, every now and again, you can buy yourself something nice.
That's by design. That's exactly it. It's completely by design.
Yeah, and if you notice, like, But in Congress today, only 2% of Congress comes from a working class background.
Yes.
That's just a true statistic.
Yeah, the incumbent that I'm up against, he's been on his seat for 10 years. He's 74 years old, but before he got into politics, he started a contracting business, and it never went anywhere. He just transferred ownership to his wife, and his son runs it. They've got several locations. It's a multi-million-dollar business. The people that are elected to represent us have zero idea what an average weekly grocery bill costs. So it's the gap is so huge, but it's so easy to cover up because, like you were saying, Trevor, it's by design.
Can I quote the president of the United States? Groceries. That's a beautiful word. That's a word not many people know. Groceries.
You're right.
So actually,
you know, it's funny. The president. Oh, sorry. I was going to say, just to add on to this, like the president had mentioned just 2 or 3 days ago that we don't have the money. And he said the first thing, we don't have the money to pay for childcare, Medicaid, Medicare, things like that. I pointed out very, very quickly. It's just simple math. Katie Porter was the best at doing this, but it's simple math, right? If we return $400 to $450 billion back to the top 5%, 1% in corporations underneath the One Big Beautiful Bill Act that passed in 2025, that's how much revenue was returned. If we paid 1.1 million service providers in our childcare industry $17 an hour for a year, that would have only cost the nation $35 to $40 billion a year, 1/10 of what was returned back. So the idea that we don't have money is a lie. It's what we choose to invest into. And it's my firm belief that if we're investing into the DoD, every single, and you know me as a veteran, every dollar we spend into that organization has an expiration date, whether it's a bullet or whether it's a 20-year enlistment or commission. Everything has an expiration date in that department. Whereas in the education sector, every $1 has a $4 return on the investment. We cannot say the same for the DoD.
And
for me, it's
what they always
simple.
say is, an uneducated populace is a controlled populace.
Uneducated populace. So this is the deal. Rhetoric. Education is a great firewall for throwing away bad rhetoric and understanding and being attracted to good rhetoric. If you're educated, you know what you're listening for and listening to. But the guy, Jordan, who told you that his boss was going to raise the rent and he felt like that was going to be good for him, even after the 50 years of that never being good for him, in history. How do we change that rhetoric? Everything you're saying sounds great. And I'm going to get to another stat for you, Bree, that deals with that number that you gave in the Romanov history and how that's now that's not just America, that's a global number. So if anything's going to collapse, it's not just us. But get back to this rhetoric. I need to know how to fix that. How do I change that guy's mind? Because I'm going to say, you're a f***ing idiot. But that's not the way to go about it. That's why I need you guys to tell me how to make that happen. Katie Porter was good at that. How are you going to be good at that? What do we say? How do I not give them the knife hand and just go off like, what's wrong with you?
I have an answer for that one. You go, Jordan.
Yeah, to answer your question really briefly there, Doug, for me, it's been a matter of maturity and temperament. Learning when to calm down, learning when to be reactionary and when not to be. It's about discipline, self-discipline, knowing that people are going to pop off and say some crazy things sometimes. I firmly believe America is living in political and social trauma. I know what traumatized people look like. I know what they sound like. And when I'm working around traumatized people, if I'm aware of it, I know how to respond to it. I know how to calm people down, bring down the rhetoric, de-escalate the situation, and just listen. Because what every American wants more than anything else right now is to be understood and heard. So just give them the time. Maybe you disagree, but that's not your time to argue. It's not your time to impress that you're smarter or that you're more intellectual. It's your time to listen. And how many Americans do not listen to each other, let alone their neighbors or friends or family? So today, under a traumatized world that we're living in, I would say listen. Stop speaking. Stop trying to convince. Listen first. Figure out what are they truly afraid of. And then redirect from there with calm guidance. That's been my success. redirecting to the things that matter most: housing, healthcare, education, and food security. If we're not talking about those things, then we're not winning the fight ultimately.
And it's interesting coming from, there's a political side, like way to lead. The way that I've approached it is, I am not going to allow them the time of day. If this is who you're going to be, we're going to create our own table over here. And this table, we're going to set the example. We are going to lead with love and acceptance and kindness, because we've been called all the names. I'm done hearing that on repeat. The thing is, these folks that we're dealing with on the far right, they tell us exactly what they need. They say, I want your liberal tears. What they're telling us is they need to feed on others' energy. They only eat if they are getting you riled up, if they're getting you to get angry. That's what abusers do. So what do we do to starve a parasite? We stop feeding it. We don't interact. We let it just do its thing. The thing is, eventually that cult will eat itself. But if we're not over here building community, if we're not building a future over here, and it can be both done simultaneously, I get that entirely.
I agree.
I am not going to give them what they want. I detest bullies, and I do not think that giving them what they want is going to get them out of it. It's almost like that tough love that we just got to ignore them. Move over here, find and build this community of people that want and can change the world together. So very different approaches, but
my approach is kind of a mix of both. My approach is very much a mix of both. Recently I went fairly viral for not my usual content. Usually I'm criticizing Trump and getting people mad, which is, we should all be doing that. If you're not doing that, you're wasting a good solid 24 hours, right? But
this is
I went
the aroma of that. I love it. Let me just breathe that in. Go ahead, continue.
You know how I am. But you guys might have seen her videos. She got a lot of traction on the internet, celebrities included, Carter Brown, for crying about how the left is not being accepting of her. She was a 3-time Trump voter. I got in contact with her, and I took her to her first protest. We went to No Kings last Saturday.
Outstanding.
And, yeah. I went to No Kings with a 3-time Trump voter. And it was, I think, a good lesson for both of us, honestly. It taught me a lot about my capacity for other humans, which is, it's always tested as a substance use therapist. I have the most frustrating job on the planet. I'm trying to save lives and clients don't want to listen. It's frustrating, right? But what I've learned through that is that bipartisanship is 100% achievable. Like we can actually do it. And it has to be a combination, I found, between what Jordan's doing and what Trevor's doing, right? I will open the space. I will provide the education. I will provide the room, the statistics and the facts for you. I will lend an opening ear for a little bit. When I first started my residency hours as a therapist, I was beating myself over the head constantly, clients relapsing, clients dropping out of the program. I would take it so personally. And my clinical director sat down with me one time and he said, you have to be the best clinician you know how to be regardless. You help your clients the best that you know how. You provide them with the resources, you provide them with the information, you provide them with the empathy. You cannot work any harder than the person in front of you. So don't. And I take that into the same, to this political arena. I will always be here to practice empathy, because I don't think empathy is a substitute for accountability. We can achieve both. I think that when we are having these conversations with people, especially on the far right, who are curious about the other side or coming more centered, if you will, a big barrier, I think, is not having a place to land. And to be honest, there's a lot of people that have been harmed by the vote in this administration. So I don't expect everyone to be that soft place, but I do encourage those people to look for individuals like myself, like Jordan, who are willing to listen and have the capacity. And when you're really, when you're done sitting in that and you're ready, you go over to Trevor's house and go sit at the table he's made. You get what I'm saying? So
I will also say, we're talking about wealth inequality here. I'm not converting or evangelizing any MAGA anytime soon.
No.
I don't think any of us are. Yeah. So we're not placating to the fringes. We're talking about wealth inequality here. And I'm talking, example I gave was to a college student. So,
so I'm glad you said that, because
that's where I'm saying you pause, you take the time, you sow the seed into the young man's mind and let that tree bloom.
Exactly.
Well, here's the thing. Here's the thing. I want to take both of you guys. I'm gonna let you speak. Hold on. But But Beyonce had the best video. I'm just playing. So here's the deal. You guys are giving I'm loving this. I think this is educational. It's very micro. This is one-on-one. This is personal ways to think about changing minds or changing or giving rhetoric that can sink in. The Democratic Party has an issue with macro rhetoric, with making people see that this didn't work for 50 years. How do we change that? Not interpersonal. How do we get people, enough of them to say, hey, what the heck was I thinking? Or I'd never looked at it that way. Or is it just the fact that we have been conditioned to worship money for so long that there's always going to be enough people to look at an orange maniac who says he's a billionaire and just let it go and always believe that there's a chance? Are we that duped? Or is there a way that the Democratic Party can start matching these rhetoric wars?
I think people just don't know what it looks like. America is built off of consumerism and capitalism. I don't think people are aware that there are actually alternatives that will work, and that's the hard part, is the miseducation. As I said earlier, an uneducated populace is a controlled populace. A consumer-based population is a controlled population. And I think as left-leaning people, we can do a great service to people by, again, just providing the honest statistic, listening to them and saying, hey, will you give me the space to speak? That has worked out so well for me. I don't know how many people I've talked to in the district that genuinely didn't know the numbers. And once they got a hold of the numbers, it was like, oh, so this is misleading. I just think a lot of it has to do with, again, the wrong rhetoric being pushed. So we have to do our job and pushing the rhetoric back. And I know that's controversial in and of itself, but I happen to think indoctrination can go both ways. So how are we using our platforms? How are we using our voices? How are we using our resources and tools? How are we explaining them? A lot of the issue, I think, too, comes down to not necessarily the message, but how it's said. I myself, I'm guilty of it. It's not written on the screen, but I got 8 letters behind my last name. So sometimes I have to slow down and say, you're talking to the normal public, not somebody at your post-grad, university class, right? You're not doing one of those presentations. And I think the barrier for rhetoric oftentimes comes in the language. People think we're being elitist, or we're being overly intellectual and talking down. I don't know how many times I've had a conversation. I still debate on live panels all the time. It keeps me sharp. And I've had people come at me. I say something, they take a beat. So are you saying I'm stupid? Whoa. That never left my mouth, right? And so it has caused me to reflect on how I'm presenting the rhetoric that I know is best for us, and is more leaning on the truth, even if it's to the detriment of the appearance of a Democrat. I would rather someone see the truth and make up their own mind versus the rhetoric that they've been pushed to believe. And Jordan hit on a very important point about fear. I meant to add this in earlier, but it's been scientifically proven that conservative right-leaning people have overactive amygdalas. Your amygdala controls your fear output because they consume news stations like Fox News, a lot of rhetoric that is solely based in fear-mongering. So if we think about that and think about what it feels like when we are in fear, what it feels like to have somebody calm those fears, I think if we look at it from that lens, produce the rhetoric that calms fear, we might get somewhere. Does that make sense?
Yeah, and I think on the left, we have to be very cautious about, for instance, I was hiking the other day and I was going up this rocky ass terrain uphill, and I had this realization of what we do in the left so often is instead of guide up, we push back down the mountain. We do it all the time, and I know it's because we're thinkers. We're a lot of us are super neurospicy, and so we're problem solving, and we're always trying to out progressive each other to the point where we will steal defeat out of the mouth of victory because we want to. I don't know why we do it, but we have to start guiding even on our own side. We need to start guiding ourselves and not knocking each other back. That's something I see on the right. They've nailed down is they have a singular focus. They are single issue voters. They will give them this, and man, they coalesce around it. we are so broad, and that's great. That's what's amazing about the progressive left, is there's so many things we care about. However, that sometimes just spreads us out so thin that we end up just getting flanked. We get holes in the lines and get beat down. So I think that's something that I want to see more of. And I try to do in our community. I always want to do is like people come in and they want to police, and it's just a nudge. It's just a nudge. Like, hey, that's great. Maybe instead of saying Native Americans, because there weren't Americans here natively, they're the indigenous people that were here. Little things like that, they'll jump on, and people just start slapping each other around. It's like, okay, do you see someone's heading in the right direction? Let's help them continue and head in that direction.
Oh yeah, those little semantics, man. I got eaten alive. It was like half of them were with me, the other half were against me because I don't say I'm African American. I'm Black American. I've never been to Africa a day in my life. Neither have my parents, my grandparents, my great-grandparents, my great-great-great-grandparents, Yeah. And so we get caught up in these word wars and this, and it's just like, y'all, for the love of God, we all actually have a common goal. Can we stop the technicalities and the semantics? We would be so much further.
Do we have a common goal anyway? That's another show. People, I'm going to try my hardest to do. I'm a professional in the end here. You mentioned something about the Romanov history, about the level of wealth inequality that caused, or that preceded their fall. Take a look at these numbers on the screen. Then look at those numbers that you told me. Tell me what this looks like. This is global income inequality. Look at these numbers, if you can read it, and tell me what does this look like for all of you smart people out there. Is this as concerning?
Oh, yeah.
Is this as concerning to you as it is to me? I look at it and I'm freaking scared.
It's an upside down pyramid, and we all know that an upside down pyramid can't stand. This doesn't work. There's no way this is why, I talk about with our business that, capitalism in itself is not bad, but the thing is there's three branches, and there's the environmental, the human, and the financial. The problem is we've tipped the ship towards strictly financial for so long that the ship is going over, but we're not balancing the human capitalism, the environmental capitalism. This cannot win. It's unsustainable, and that's what that graphic shows right there.
Yeah.
It has to tip.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Exactly. This just again puts me in mind of Romanov history. If you go back and look at the last photos of, I think it was in 1902, it was considered the last imperial ball, and like people just inside even their own palace walls were starving, actively starving in front of them. And the Romanovs were so out of touch with their own people. I mean, they had, I think it was estimated the entire party had $10 billion worth of jewels and linens and fabrics and luxuries at that one party in 1902, $10 billion worth in 1902. No telling what that translates to nowadays, but that's an
entire GDP.
Yes,
of some countries.
It is. It's this unawareness, and it's the same from the top. Like I saw a kid on TikTok earlier. I was scrolling right before we got on, and he looks back at his mom who's trying to rush him on his fishing trip, and he goes, "We don't rush you in Hermes, so don't rush us fishing." And I'm like, what does a 10-year-old kid know about Hermes? But that speaks to the different kind of lifestyles people are living here in this country. When I was 10 years old, I had no idea what the hell an Hermes was, let alone being fishing on a boat, and it just really speaks to the differences that we're all living under.
Allow me. What's Hermes?
Exactly my point.
Right. What? Huh?
Fashion.
Don't
fashion.
embarrass me out here like this, Bree. I don't.
Very expensive. Those belts that men wear with the H on it? Hermes. Very expensive.
Oh, okay. So black folks call it Hermes. That's the one. That's that joint called Hermes.
Hermes.
Excuse me. I'm sick. I apologize. Go ahead.
Can we let's remember this.
Okay.
See, if we're going to talk about Romanov, let's talk about this. The fact is, this kind of system always eats itself.
Yes.
It always falls. I mean, in 1918, guess what? His head rolled.
Mm-hmm.
It does end. We just have to, I want to skip the in-between. I'd like to skip the in-between. I mean, we're on the edge of the 1905, like Bloody Sunday. Like that's kind of where we're on the edge of, but he kept clawing back power for 13 more years.
Yeah.
So we've got to realize that we do have the power, and in the end they do fall.
This is it though. This is 250 years. Historically speaking, pattern wise, every large empire either falls completely or experiences a major shift at 250 years. Will be 250 this summer. So buckle in.
Right on schedule.
Right on schedule.
So this pyramid that this graph shows here, I'm still waiting for Brown Girl Pride to come in. Like I said, she's the Native American historian and activist, and she would tell you, and I'm not sure if she's going to be able to make it because she's also an RN and she's dealing with a patient, so I'll give her that. The only thing more important than doing this show is saving a life. Fine, if you have to. But she would say capitalism will always end this way. I believe she would say that. I believe she would say that this is going to be wrong. Now, I personally, I know people who are anarchists. I know people who are Leninists, and there's a whole bunch of stuff. And I find it all to be annoying at best. But there has to be some sort of a change. What is that change? Jordan, I'll let you start because you haven't spoken
regulation,
about it.
Guys. I think what we're all talking about is unregulated capitalism absolutely can run amok. That's why we have regulations, though. That's why we have laws. That's why we restrict things. If we're really focused on wealth inequality, then we should be talking about taxes. Yes. If we're really focused on fixing these issues, then we need to be talking about different ways to raise revenue that doesn't result in working people paying the cost. For example, if you're a corporation and you're using AI to displace jobs or automated machines and algorithms, you should be taxed on those algorithms. You should be taxed on those AI tools. You should be taxed on those automated machines. If we're moving toward a universal basic income model, or at least trying to build a network of it, stop taxing people, start taxing technology.
Yeah, Oracle just last week I did a video on it. Oracle just released with 20,000 to 30,000 employees. They no warning whatsoever. They were all just sent an email saying your services are no longer needed, and they're going to put those.
That happens though.
Yeah, they're going to put their funds with AI and data centers. So that was the main.
Yeah, but that happens all the time.
Does.
It's not the federal government's job to regulate private business like Oracle. Though.
Like I don't think it is.
Why
but
not?
I'm more so
Why not?
Wait.
Why not?
Because the private market. Because if we're going to have the government running private businesses, then we are then living in communist America.
I'm not pushing for that. I am not pushing for that. What I'm speaking about is the fact.
I'm not saying you are, but he asked the question.
People are losing opportunities. We're losing jobs hand over foot to machinery and data centers and AI. And Oracle is just a recent example. I'm a whistleblower.
I don't know if Oracle's building AI or data centers, excuse me.
Yeah.
But as a software platform, yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. But, just in my local area, the data centers that are popping up, trying to convince people that these are good, that they're going to help with jobs. In reality, the 1 million square foot data center that was proposed here was only offering like 20 to 30 jobs. So I think there should be a closer look into how people, like you said, are paying the price for these things, whether that may be a loss of job, environmental struggles, because I've even been seeing mental health reports of people out in Tennessee that have been subject to these data centers a lot more than the rest of us lately. So I think there's a very big conversation, a deep conversation to be had about this and what roles we can all play in it.
Here's the thing. Oh, go ahead.
Go ahead, Trevor.
Oh, I was just going to say, what we have the people who have benefited the most from unfettered capitalism writing the rules for capitalism, for themselves. Right. And so but then you also have people like David Ellison who are buying up the entire mouthpiece of our media. So now you have media that will then also serve the people who have benefited most from unfettered capitalism that will continue to write rules and structure for themselves within a system they've designed for themselves. So this comes back to people like Bree and people like Jordan and politicians who are unbought, unpaid for, don't owe money to AIPAC or loyalty to AIPAC or money to anyone else, because otherwise this does not work because they control the system.
100%. Absolutely.
And I think it's remaining clear, remaining focused on, we are trying to break the wheel here. Like right now we're focused on wealth inequality. We're talking about technology also. And for me, I mean, they go hand in hand. Technology can certainly help with wealth inequality. It can certainly harm it. I live in Missouri. We have 4 tech billionaires living in the state. We're not getting away from data centers here in my home state. We have to coexist with them. The question is, how do we coexist in a way with technology that doesn't further harm people? Like I've said before, I am 100% against any technology that seeks to come into a community, inflate our utility systems or bills such that we're putting more people out into homelessness.
Yes,
that's unsustainable. But that's also where I'm saying unregulated capitalism is problematic.
Absolutely.
We need people who are willing to go in there, stand up, look at BlackRock in the face and say, I get it. You want $1 trillion a square foot property. Guess what? I grew up with less than 500 square foot in my hometown, in my little home where I grew up with 5 people. So your $1 trillion a square feet means nothing to me, nothing at all to me. And that's what it takes, is somebody who's strong, who understands what it means to stand up for the vulnerable and the voiceless. And it's a hell of a lot easier to do it, behind a screen or when you're out on the trail. But also I say it publicly in my messaging, and it's on my campaign page, that if we're really serious about, focusing on fixing systems, and when we're looking at our antitrust and monopoly law, that's why we need smart legislators today, competent legislators today, who can go in there, beef up that regulation and law, and make sure it's actually enforceable and usable.
Yeah, 100%. Absolutely. I appreciate you saying that too. Georgia has sneakily become the #1 state in data centers popping up.
Very sneakily.
They are popping up everywhere. And, one of our state reps, Rua Ramam, actually has introduced legislation to at least put a pause on them until we figure out the further effects of the people, the environment. Not to say that no data centers are allowed, no AI allowed, because technology is a part of innovation and growth. But as you said, Jordan, I think there is a way for us to explore that in a healthy way that doesn't put people at the detriment or further behind technology. We should be striving to coexist, if that makes sense.
Well, listen, people, as somebody here whose first instinct is always to buck, right? I just want to. I'm not enjoying agreeing with everything, and I don't. So there's an issue here that I find I'm wishing we had brown girl pride here, because we are still under the chains. We're still under the chains when we say things like, and listen, I'm way out here. I'm not running for anything, so I can afford to say these types of things. But and I'm not stupid enough, YouTube, to say these things and then expect somebody who can't do these things and not to vote for them because of it. That's a dumb response to activism and to what we're trying to do here. I'm just saying, on the other side, when I put up graphics, and by the way, I'm using AI to get some of this information. So you see that QR code over there. I'm anti-capitalist, but I need your money. That's what's happening. Just hit that QR code. Let me get some of that money. I'll invest in some more AI and then talk bad about it on here. That's how it works. This is the reality of life, people. Yeah. And so if you can't deal in those nuances and that gray area, maybe it's not for you. Go hide under your bed somewhere.
Here's the thing. This is how I always look at it. It's a tool, and if you're using that tool for the betterment or for the greater good, you need to be operating in the same playing field as your competitors. And this is a thing that we're stuck up against right now with AI, that it offers as a tool that I don't want to use it to replace people, but I was able to code an entire database, 20,000 lines of JavaScript code that automates our entire company, what to make, what to order, all comes in an email form every morning by looking at sale velocity, trajectory of sales, and looking through what we have in stock. This entire data environment I built, I didn't know how to code before that. But I used AI to build this thing that now we have in-house, that when we start bringing other businesses on board with us, I can provide to them at no cost. So they're not having to then spend money they don't have, where they need to get venture capitalists involved to then buy that program. So there is a reason that if you choose to use something, make sure that it is for the better good, the greater good. The return on investment is worth more than the destruction of our society by using it. Does that make sense?
Absolutely.
Yeah. Okay. So and on the other hand, now here's the buck. According to AI, key drivers of inequality. Number 1, technology and automation. Advances in AI. Computers have increased demand for high-skilled workers while automating routine jobs, or maybe even a warehouse. I'm bucking. I'm just saying, if I'm going to say what the numbers we just saw that are leading to the threat that we were talking about, and then I say, well, what are these main drivers of wage inequality? And the first thing that comes up is technology and automation. I need another solution, a better plan.
It's not the technology. It's not the automation. It's the billionaires at the top. They choose to use it. The thing is, it used to be that you paid a living wage. That used to be all these things set in place to protect consumers, protect us. The thing is that shifted to the top. So it doesn't matter what technology and automation is out there. If the person running it at the top and their board only cares about profit, if they only care about profit, none of this fucking matters. So we need to put people before profit. But the problem is, the people that have become the billionaires in that class, you don't become a billionaire by caring about people. It's impossible. It's impossible. You cannot do that. Those cannot coexist. Because if you're a billionaire that cares about people, you are not a billionaire very quick, because you are putting back into your community. You're building things that will enhance your community and our world around us. So at the end of the day, it's not about any of these things. It is about the greed and the wealthy at the top doing it. Because they choose them to do that. Now, I don't know that regulation is the thing. Jordan was right. I mean, we do have to regulate, but we cannot control what a private business does. We do have to regulate. We can protect the workers. Absolutely. That's where unions come in. That's where protecting the actually working class, that the business can't run rampant and destroy and just use people up like cogs in the machine.
Exactly. And that was exactly my point with Oracle. Like, what happens to those 20, 30,000 people who just sat down one morning to work and they get an email, oh, I lost my job to AI? Crazy, Because
the board looked at the numbers and the numbers didn't make sense and they couldn't get richer.
That's literally what happened. That's literally what I reported on. That's exactly what happened. They changed out leadership, and this whatever leadership was very pro AI, pro data center, and they ran the numbers and figured this was the better way to make a profit. So that's exactly what happened.
So Jordan says you can't regulate that part of it, though.
That's not my concern, to be honest. And that's not the concern, to be honest. It's all people,
It's more of like regulating the business aspects of it. So, for example, in the Oracle example, and this is just hypothetical now. So, say a hypothetical group of 10,000 people are going to be terminated. In the America I'm talking about, where the labor and working class deserve every right to have quality work, dignified work, meaning they deserve a nation that supports the ability to unionize. Absolutely. They deserve a nation that also, if you as the employer, say you're Walmart, Amazon, whatever, if you're employing massive amounts of Americans, but we're also subsidizing your employees through welfare, I believe firmly, and you're paying $0 in tax, I believe firmly you should owe us back that welfare dollars that we as taxpayers are subsidizing your employees with.
Absolutely.
That's a way we go after wealth inequality. And that's still a way we regulate corporations and free market business without hindering them from how they make their employing or non-employing decision making. But regardless, you make sure they have a union, and like I had mentioned before, with technology being the biggest factor when it comes to wealth inequality today, that's why we should be taxing AI to the nth degree, in particular when it comes to corporations employing or applying these tools within the organization itself to displace those 20 to 30,000 people like Bree is talking about. That's the exact tax that should be made on those corporations. So that way it doesn't happen through automation.
I just got asked the same question. I just did a endorsement interview with the AFL-CIO, which was huge, awesome, intimidating. So if you get an interview with them, just know it's going to be yourself and 20 other people representing other orgs. It was intimidating.
Oh, good.
No, I logged in. I was like, oh my gosh. But we talked about this exact thing. You know, I was very plainly asked, you know, how do you plan on protecting, you know, people's right to unions, especially in terms of
well, then I think you would probably have a great firsthand experience with this, Bree. Then, and I'm sorry, I'm stealing your job there, Doug. Oh my gosh. No, I just, you know, it's a great point in this of like the unions I'm getting in touch with here. They need AI data center work. Yep. So they are pro the construction of data centers.
Yep.
So how do we stay as Democrats pro solidarity, pro union, but also we need to advocate smartly on the data center.
It's funny because another person from another organization in the same call, he posed the same question. You know, he was like,
so hard.
So how do you propose to doing this? And that's very much the same way. Protecting the workers is ultimately how you know we stay afloat of this. But yeah.
And I think that's really the sad situation today is unions need the work, right? We can all agree on that, but they're literally building the things that are killing us all. So it's
you guys are way too reasonable. I thought I see a fight here before now. What's happening?
No, that's regulation though. That's the regulation we can do. Environmental regulation. I mean,
another part of regulations. It comes back to the land. Our oh man, Melinda would have been saying the same thing. We without first realizing that everything we do has to come from the land or protect the land. Oh, y'all see my animal, my spirit animal over there? We're lost in the beginning. And it does come back to the regulations, but not just financial, environmental. If you have the regulations on all of the actual aspects that bring us closer to reality, humanity, the fact that we are animals that live here on this earth, you may find that balance is a lot easier kept than trying to silo it in economics by itself, than just a union by itself. There may be a threshold that you can't go over because if you need the jobs and you're a union, there's a regulation that says if you take too much water, it can't be done. So that's it for you. And then you're going to have to find another way to get these jobs. There has to be a threshold somewhere else that makes that decision, not the candidate who's trying to help your union, right? So maybe that is where we go. You guys are way too reasonable. I wanted to drag out fights. I brought boxing gloves. This is not what I'm looking for. But I do think this is what America needs: real, actual conversations. Last point on this: wealth inequality. To me, it's the number one issue. I think it's the main. Well, it's the number one issue, except for saving our democracy, which I think has been done in by wealth inequality. So they're interchangeable here. We have a privilege of having people who can take this entire big picture we just looked at, the global wealth, the history since Reagan, to home in the 12th district, in the 4th district. How are we going to help heal the wealth inequality gap, help bridge it, help narrow it in the 12th district of Georgia, in the 4th district of Missouri? Bree.
My district in particular is made up of a lot of rural counties. And as you know, rural communities across America, not just the South, are often left out of the conversation. But, you know, we have more rural communities than we do large cities. And with that, I have been talking to people and really focused on incentivizing. What are we doing for the actual small communities there? Often the trend is you grow up, there's an opportunity there, you leave. And the community falls further and further behind. But what if we started doing things like incentivizing small businesses for apprenticeships, paid apprenticeships, and paid internships, give people something to hope for, something to work toward where they're at, right? And for a lot of rural communities, it really does boil down to accessibility. There are some people who don't even have basic internet access still. So that leaves them out of even healthcare aspects, telehealth, mental health. And that all feeds back into lowering those gaps. You can't provide for self, provide for family, provide for community if you aren't the best version of yourself. And if our social safety nets aren't reaching the most vulnerable in our communities, the gap is only going to get wider. So I think for me and my district, the main focus is on how do we boost up those small communities? And like I said, making sure there's food security. A lot of food deserts are, still an issue. Accessibility to education, equality and equity in education. There's no reason in 2026 that kids should be getting used anything in schools, right? So those are some of the few focuses for my district in particular.
Jordan?
I would say, as we talk about this wealth inequality, I think both Trevor and Bree, and which I would also want to say, like, Bree, thank you for being here today. I actually have been following you for a while, so this has been awesome to see you.
I've been following you for a while too, so it's been good.
Oh, this is awesome. So I'm a big fan of yours. So
a big fan of yours. I always I see your stuff and I'm like, I love his brain.
Yeah, I love yours. Like, honestly, and it's because it's clear you're an academic.
Get a room already, Jesus Christ.
Well, nerds find each other.
We do. We can't help it.
Each other.
I love it.
But I would say is, it's humanizing yourself. It's finding the authentic version of you. Maybe it's the nerd version. Maybe it's the PTSD anxiety person who I am as well. And talk about that. Speak to the issues. Humanize yourself. Chris Voss, he worked for the FBI as the high stakes hostage counter negotiator. And he wrote a book called Never Split the Difference. And in it, he talks about how to get your opponent to a yes without them ever saying yes. It's a really, really great read. But in it, he talks often about mimicry. And it ultimately is about identifying with the other person across from you. So find those ways in which you can build a bridge to walk across, to make a new friend, and friendship doesn't mean you always agree on everything. In fact, a lot of my friends and I disagree on a lot of things, and that's what makes us sharper and smarter and diverse in our friend circle. So when it comes to wealth inequality, though, how we address it is, one, we have to go after monopoly and antitrust law that currently exists, make it stronger, more robust, and put enforcement powers behind it. The other there is we need to start talking about the human aspects of everyday American life. Wealth inequality can be seen in your grocery store. There's a monopoly in your grocery store. So just reminding folks, breaking it down, to the point where people can see the products they buy, where they think they're seeing diversity is actually one company. And in that way, I think we will have a better ability to go after markets in that way if we force breakups in vertical integration, and that'll help with wealth inequality. And last is smart regulation without being cumbersome or suffocating the ability to expand or grow as small or growing businesses.
Outstanding. And Trevor, except I've seen that you have given job opportunities to people like, Stormy Daniels, and except for making sure people like that stay rich, how are you going to deal with this?
No, we love Stormy.
Yeah, Stormy's awesome.
Oh, yeah.
She's not rich.
Oh yeah.
No,
Exactly. And here, okay, so all jokes aside, she is not rich, and she has been
he tried to ruin her entire
abused
life.
and torn down for simply doing what this monster paid for. Let's just be honest.
He didn't know.
Remember
he did not pay. He did not pay for the sex, by the way. That was not a thing. He never hired her. I actually got to hear the whole story behind that if you ever want to hear it.
Wow.
Yeah, no, it was never. He and I talked for quite a while. No, he never paid for that. He was trying to tell her that he could get her onto The Apprentice and all this stuff. And then they were supposed to go out to dinner. And before she left, she went to the bathroom and came out. And he was laying on the bed in his robe with nothing else on underneath. And her option was have sex with him or leave. And there were security guards out front. And she did not know that if she would be able to get out of there or not. She was coerced into it through fear. So let's just be very clear.
Me and Stormy.
Classic.
Yeah, there's Stormy.
Man.
Classic.
Yeah, she's an incredible human.
She is an incredible woman.
Yeah.
But yes, so all jokes aside, besides I've seen you giving money to, it's helping out the Stormies of the world. Give us some of your insight on how you're doing this locally where you are, this wealth inequality gap.
So for me, we have our Give a Cluck program, and didn't grow up a rich kid. I was lower middle class, but then I was a musician. I came to Nashville. I toured for about 16 years. So I've never been wealthy. I've never had a lot of money, but I've had that poor kid get up and go. Like I know how to make things happen and make things work without having a lot of money. And so the way I wanted to build this business from the beginning was that we built this community that I want to be part of something bigger than I can be alone. And when other people have that same thing, then we can build towards something. So like our Give a Cluck program, any collaboration we do, we're always going to give back a portion of the proceeds to a nonprofit we believe in. For instance, I told you last time we spoke, I told you about our Petty with Purpose program, which we monetized our Facebook. And then what we do is every month we give back 100% minus taxes, which by the way, in Tennessee, an LLC does get taxed on their donations. It's only in the private. The individual owners can actually then, file to have a deduction on it when they actually file their personal taxes, which is a crazy law. But so we do 100% of what we can there minus the taxes to a different nonprofit. And what we've done is we pick ones every month that are the most marginalized communities. So we did Equity Alliance for Black History Month, which is the largest voter mobilization, Black voter mobilization program, a lot of other community building they do in Tennessee. We did Planned Parenthood last month. This month, we're doing the Trans Unity Coalition. And the beauty is we put it out there like this. We make a graphic and we say, hey, if you see any MAGA come by, because we pick on them a lot, and they comment, remember to post this graphic and say, thank you so much for your public pro-trans stance and for your donation to the Trans Unity Coalition or to Planned Parenthood. Thank you for your pro-stance on being pro-choice. And so what it does, it sets us up in a win-win where if they comment, they give back. If they don't, we don't have to deal with MAGA. And building our business in smart ways, we've never actually paid for advertising. It's just associating with the right people that are doing the right thing and building that table I keep talking about. And every time we expand that orbit, it gets bigger and that gravitational pull gets bigger and more people want to be a part of that cool kids table, if you will. So when it comes down to business for me, I don't say people before profit because it's popular. I believe it should always be people before profit. If you prioritize people, you prioritize the environment, you prioritize, it grows on its own. All that comes with it. So for me, I think I'm trying to set and hoping I am setting an example that as a business, you can build community, you can be who you are, and you don't have to be quiet to serve a system that really half of it's voting against the people that you love. So I've been very clear from the beginning that, we're the current Allied Business of the Year for the LGBT Pride Chamber of Tennessee, and we don't even have a storefront. It's just because we are an inclusive business, and I'm not doing it for any other reason besides I want to live in the world I believe can be, not is. Does that make sense?
Outstanding. Let me say this. For an inaugural roundtable event done in a way that doesn't suck, which is our mantra here, I think that this was pretty good. This was very good. You guys, I appreciate the candor and honesty. I appreciate the difference of opinions and coming together of opinions, because the truth is we're not going to have people on here disagreeing just for disagreement's sake. I do wish I had our Native American friend in here, but she'll be back another time. You guys,
I'm no Native American expert, but I do have indigenous blood. I know quite a bit. Anytime you need me to talk about it, I will. I'm Lumbee, so. That's
what's up. I got you. Yeah, we'll talk about that because I'm going into a whole series on that outside of this. But
yeah, it's a quite complicated tribal history. Actually, the Trump administration just gave us our federal recognition as a tribe. So.
Oh, really?
It's complicated. It's complicated. Yeah.
I think I just did an interview with. Yeah. Real talk. Okay. Yeah. This has been On Your Left with Joe Sarduck. Next week, we're going to have Chelsea Gods come in and provide a little bit of funny and interesting, intelligent conversation. We may have Jordan or Bree Woodson back. You guys are some of the Courage candidate regulars, I'm sure, as if you're available. We also will have Ziva Rosenbaum from Oregon's 5th District. We have other Courage candidates that have not said they're going to come in yet. So be prepared for Chelsea Gods. Be prepared for Ziva. And we're going to do this 3 or 4 or 5 or as many times as we can, because we want you to know who you're voting for. We want you to know who to vote for and who to tell people to vote for and the reasons why. It's not about blue no matter who, right? It's about the fact that you actually have enough blue candidates out here that are saying they want to impeach this abomination the minute they get in, and are willing to vow to that are saying they want to change things, that are thinking about AI deeply, that are thinking about the wage gap deeply in a way that takes in history and future, in a way that takes in rhetoric, like you just saw today. It's not about just voting blue. There are options. This roundtable, this show on your left will be the show to show it to you. I will see you all next week. Thank you all so much for showing up here today. And it means a lot to me. You really helped make this show get on the road in the perfect way. More fighting could have been done. It's more physical. Next time.
Next time, I got you. I'll bring one of my MAGA people, and then we can really duke it out.
Oh, that's one thing we will not allow. I guess if they actually believe it, fine.
Sometimes it's fun.
If they actually believe it. What I don't want is that bum on CNN who everybody knows as soon as the camera's off, he's chummy with everybody, but on it he's like, well, you like Epstein, didn't you? And I mean, it's just the dumbest, stupidest. To say that I'm on the side of the orange guy, that's what we're not going to do. If you actually are MAGA and you think you can come on here and somehow explain to me why I need to listen to you, more power to you. More power to you. I would love to see it. Bree's going to be the host that day because I'm going to have to be quiet. I guarantee you.
I literally do it all the time on TikTok panels, like rooms up to 1,000 people, and just talk to MAGA.
That's why I'm not running for nothing.
It's probably why my constitution is so just like, I've had a year's worth of doing this to myself. Listen, and I'm fully aware I'm doing this to myself.
You're running for office.
I will talk to well-known white nationalists. I mean, these men will quite literally come on camera with their full face and their full chest and tell me, I don't want anybody that doesn't look like me here. I don't want to work any harder than I have to. I don't want to hear anything but English. And I have conversations with them. I do. I mean, they're not nice conversations.
Well, here's the deal. No. Whether constitution or forced habit, this is what I expect from somebody who's running. And I say that with all respect, and understanding that it's not me for a reason. I'm here. I have a very specific way of doing things and being that has worked for training soldiers and getting people, but it doesn't mean that I have to be angry all the time. I don't have to be. I just have, this is who I've become in the past.
Okay, so I should
years.
Just name in my phone
past
Bruce
2 years
Banner.
or so.
That's what it is. You're Bruce Banner. You're always angry, right?
Right. It's always there.
All right, Bruce.
But yeah, I know where I stand, where I belong in this movement, and I expect more from the people who are running. I expect a certain amount of understanding, learning, knowledge of history in a way that you don't sound like somebody typing on a golden toilet at 3 a.m. about their time in the 80s. Okay, right. That is what I expect of a politician.
Crash out on Easter morning. Crash out on Easter morning.
Crash out. Man. I can't. We're gonna be here another hour. Thank you all so much.
Thank you guys so much. This was fun.
Have a good one, man. I'll see you guys.
Love you, brother. All right.
Bye.
Go, go, go. Resist, resist. Oh, oh, oh. Resisting, resist. Fuck this shit's going down. That's right here, right now. The political drain. Just the news you need. Nothing driven by greed. No sipping Kool-Aid. Sims cooking on that knee. So then we got it again.
That was the Political Drain podcast, which can be heard on www.groovechillradio.com/political-drain and can be viewed on the Political Drain YouTube channel anytime. Once again, thank you for listening to Groove Chill as we resist fascism in any form, pursue democracy, peace, and love.